Good morning, everyone. Today we are starting with a new topic, that is modern approach for rules of debit and credit. Previously, I have told you that the word debit is derived from the word debitum, and here are some rules relating to debit and credit. The first one is assets. So, when we talk about assets, I have told you about the bifurcation of this. That is, the assets are land, building, furniture, right? These all are tangible assets, means those assets which you have seen and touched. And goodwill, patent, trademark and copyright, these are few assets which are intangible in nature, which means you cannot see or touch them, but you can feel it, right? So assets, if the assets increase, then we write word debit for it, and if assets decrease, then we write the word credit for it. Means when the asset comes in, it will be debited because it will increase. Similarly, if the asset goes out, or when you sold out any asset, it will decrease and you will write credit for it, right? For example, if you have purchased a machinery, then it will increase because the asset is coming in your business, right? Asset is coming in your business, then it will be debited. And if you sold that machine after a few years when it becomes useless, then it will be credited because it goes out of your business and it will be decrease, a gradual decrease, and it will be credited. The second heading is expenses and losses. See, everybody is well aware of this word expenses and losses, right? Loss means whatever the uncertainty going through in the business is known as a loss, means an unexpected event which you have not think about it, right? And expenses means everybody knows about expenses. Expenses means खर्चा, ठीक है? जो भी खर्चे बिजनेस के होते हैं उसे एक्सपेंस बोलते हैं। और लॉस एक ऐसी चीज़ होती है जिसके बारे में आपने पहले से सोचा नहीं होता है, ठीक है? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लॉस बाय फायर, थेफ्ट एक्सेट्रा. If the rule says, if there is an increase in expenses and losses, then it will be debited. If there is an increase in expenses and losses, then it will be debited. If there is a decrease in expenses and losses, then it will be credited, right? So now the next rule is for liabilities. Liability decrease, then it will be debited, and liability increase, then it will be credited. Liability means जिम्मेदारी, ठीक है? It will just opposite of assets. Liability and assets are opposite. So if asset increase, it will be debited, and if liability increase, it will be credited. And you can also learn it from this, that assets have debit balance, right? Assets have debit balance and liability have credit balance, right? Now the next is capital. Capital is very similar to liability because it is a part of liability only. Capital means whatever the money invested by the proprietor in the business, that is termed as capital. So if there is a decrease in capital, then it will be debited, and if there is an increase in capital, then it will be credited. And the next is, and the last one is profit. If there is a profit in the business, then it will be credited, and if there is a loss in the business, then it will be credited. So here are few rules. You can go through this, and if you are having any doubts, then you can ask me. And now we will going to start with our next topic, and that is rules of accounting, and you may also call it as rules of debit and credit, right? See, there are three types of accounts. There is personal account, real account and nominal account. Personal account is related to persons, real account is related to expenses and losses. That is nominal account, which is related to expenses and losses and incomes and gain, and real account is related to assets and liability, you may say it as, right? So in personal account, which is related to person, see, the word person is in this account, right? So it is related to person. Person are of three types. There is natural person, artificial person and representative person. So when the person receive anything, so he will call it as receiver and it will be debited, and if a person gives something, then he will called as giver and he will be credited. And real account says for assets and liability, if assets increase, I have taught you, if assets increase, so it comes in and it will be debited, and if assets goes out, then it will decrease and it will be credited. Nominal account. Nominal account, if there is an expense and loss, then it will be debited, and if it is an income and gain, then it will be credited. See, these are those rules which are also known as the golden rules of accounts. The whole accounts or the whole financial account is based on these two rules of debit and credit. So you have to learn it that debit the receiver, credit the giver, debit what comes in, credit what goes out, and debit all expenses and losses, credit all incomes and gains. So here are some rules for you children, and if you are having any problem in this, then you can ask me later. Okay, thank you.